just ideas that you've had, is there something that you're so passionate about that even if you didn't have student support, that you would want to push through next year because you believe that it's right, or that you believe that, you know, well, it's a better place because of that initiative? And I guess sort of make some sort of comment how you can push that through without student support.
Landlord issues. That's my baby, if you will. I know from personal experience that, you know, landlords don't follow the law. They don't think that students are aware of the law, and because of that, they take advantage of us, and that needs to stop. If students can gain that upper hand by just, it's something so easy, by knowing the law of landlords, this exploitation will stop. Simple as that.
I wrote my platform or my goals for next year very conscientiously. And for me, I guess I don't know whether it's the nature of the portfolio I'm running with or whether it's the nature of my goals, but I don't think I've left myself a lot of time for student input for next year. For me, I'm trying not to treat the academic affairs portfolio reactively. I mean, clearly, if anything, I mean, fingers crossed we have a smooth negotiation, but I mean, that's going to require immediate assistance or attention, but yeah, my big thing is really going to be building a really strong foundation of policy on the union's stance on academic matters, and I think my political objectives will be leveraged by that, and my service my service objectives. I mean, I'm going to be working tirelessly to accomplish them, and if I hear otherwise, that I think that students feel as though they're a poor idea, then I will recalibrate.
So the reason my platform is quite conservative and why I keep saying like getting student feedback is in part because those three things I've talked about are the three things I feel very passionate about, but I wanted to leave room for students. But I suppose if I needed to choose one of those three things that I feel most passionate about, it is the Wellness Center. And I've already started talking to student life about it. I know you've started working on it and improving the Wellness Center. And I think that that's just, it's a given that needs to improve. Students should not be going to the hospital. Students shouldn't be going to Moncton. And so really regardless, I don't think we need student support for it, but it really is something we need to work through with the university. Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in my platform, and I know you know that because I know you've read it. But I think for me, like I said, internal governance is the biggest thing that I want to deal with next year. But the question that you asked was a little bit more personal than that. And I think it's basically, you know, what is the one thing that was included in your platform that you would have included regardless? And for me, that's health and dental plan. It's something that I've been working on since I first got here at Mount A, and it's not necessarily pertains to my portfolio directly, but it's something that even if, you know, students said, well, we don't really want you to work on that, I feel that for me, I feel pretty passionately about it. So I think that even though I might not have got full support on it, I think I would have had to work on it anyways because it's something I feel really passionately about. So,
if there's one aspect of my platform I would really concentrate on, it would be transportation, specifically the bike co-op as well as carpooling as an initiative. First of all, students are starting to get disinterested in the bike co-op because it's been dragging on for so long. So I think that if we're going to start it, it needs to start with a bang. So that's something that I would really concentrate to do very well, especially at the start of the year when all students come back. Second, carpooling is something that's been done kind of through Facebook and everything, and people might not see the need for it if you're just considering within Mount Allison because you can do it through Facebook. But if we're linking to other universities, if we're linking to other cities, I think it would benefit us as well as other universities and all students which go. So I hope those would be the two issues that students would support me on and that I will definitely go for.
Sorry to be the one to ask this, but to each and every one of the candidates, what is the one thing that you believe the current person in that position you're running for should have done better and that you strongly intend on doing better?
So, I think Nikki's done a wonderful job completely. But I met with some of the coordinators who work in the campus life portfolio, and they had some ideas basically what Natalie told me was she would like to see international students being able to participate more in athletics here in Mount Allison. And then the athletics coordinator, Chris, told me he'd like to see international students being able to try out for...
archiving officer to start putting out more policy outputs on the union's stance on academic matters. So that's fine.
That's a tough question, but it's a good one. Sean McGilly, he's an interesting guy. He's a great guy, and have been in classes with him for many years now. He's so qualified for external affairs, and if you've had a conversation with him, you'll know he's such an intelligent guy. But one mistake that I think he made this year was when doing the bus shuttle from the airport. He didn't have enough communication with Sackville cab drivers, and this has resulted in a little bit of, I want to say hostility, but a little friction for sure between cab drivers and Mount Allison Students Union, not Mount Allison students in general. We're not here to make their life a living hell. We're here to maintain a good relationship with the town, but at the same time we represent you. We need to make the prices competitive for something like that. Was a little bit of a mistake, but in the future I would communicate.
All right, so I'm going to call Pat out on the HR policy manual. That's what I'm going to do. I've been sitting here and I'm like, I don't know. But part of the reason that it's in my platform is because I think it's something that's needed to be done for a while now, and it hasn't been done. And it's something that pertains to the presidential portfolio. I know that Pat was hoping to do it this year, and it doesn't look like it's going to get done under his term. So I guess that's what I'll hold you to, Pat. Yeah, really. So that's my.
I guess my question would be for Melissa. With the current layout of the SAC, the actual council, do you think there's too much bureaucracy and red tape? And if so, what would you do?
I think that's a really loaded question.
I trust.
I think the way the council is currently set up right now, well, like I've said in my platform, there's a lot of stuff that we need to change for the union next year. There's a lot of internal governance that needs to be dealt with. I think a council is something that we definitely need to review. We actually have one of the largest councils for a union of our size. Like, it's huge, like, especially in comparison to schools such as UBC and everything. And so I know that a lot of people feel that we get bogged down in a lot of bureaucratic processes because of the size of our council. So I definitely think that that's something that we can definitely review. And in terms of internal governance next year, I think it's something that we should definitely be looking at.
Directed to Ryan specifically.
Sure.
I absolutely love your idea about reading week courses, and as someone that cannot go home during reading week, I really appreciate that. But have you discussed the idea with any current faculty members, and how logistically feasible is it, or how close do you think you are?
Here's the trick with reading week courses. They've happened before. There's nothing saying that, I mean, if I didn't say a word about reading week courses next year, they could happen again. It's the decision to approve any course is a decision made by the dean. So really, it's a matter of finding some kind of a middle ground. I mean, I could sort of carry my mantra forward next year. And no faculty propose a reading week course. But if they do, the idea is to come up with very sound, well-researched policy that the union holds. The union has taken a stance that we think this kind of learning is valuable, and here's why. And so using that to say, okay, faculty, this might be one way of making your course happen. And then alternatively to speak to the faculty deans and say, here are all the reasons why we feel as though it's valuable. It's a comparable course to correspondence. It's worth 3 credits.
We tend to hear a lot during these elections about things that people want to improve and things that people want to do and things that people consider valuable. And we tend to hear some discussions about not wanting to make false promises. But you are elected for a year and your term is only 12 months. And you are being paid with students' money to deliver results. So I want to know very clearly, what do you promise to achieve to completion within your term, and how will you know when you succeed?
I can promise you that you will have a student charter of rights. I will promise you that in some form or another, however archaic, the student union will offer you and give you some kind of an advantage if you plan to write an MCAT or LSAT exam. I will promise that if I'm elected and when I finish my term, we will have a very strong, solid foundation of policy on what the student union thinks is in the best interest of students academically. I guess I'll leave it at that for now. Those are my promises.
I don't like starting a sentence off with "I promise," but for sake of answering the question, I promise that by next year you'll have more of an upper hand than you do now with your landlords. I promise that the Green Investment Fund will be will be more publicly aware to all students and more transparent and hopefully better used by applications that come in. And lastly, as I talked about in my speech, I promise we'll have the MASU as an organization will have a much better image and presence, especially with first and second, third years on campus.
As VP External, most of your work is working with agents outside of the university, so some of the promises you just simply can't make because you have to come to an agreement with someone else. However, within the university itself, there are things that I can promise. For housing information, we'll make sure we have a renter's rights document up on our MASU website. We'll know it's there when we post it right up. Second of all, we'll make sure that as I will be having 10 office hours, we'll make sure that students can come to these and are aware that they can come to these. And third of all, I think that we can promise that by now that we will have a bike co-op on the go. It will be effective, it will be, and we'll make sure that reviews are in progress to continually improve it. Thank you.
I have 4 things. 1 is small. I promise a safer campus. 2, I promise more classes in the fitness center. Having met with Pierre Arsenault 2 hours ago, that is a promise I can make. 3rd, I promise there will be a psychologist in the wellness center by April of next year. And finally, I promise that there will be twice as many people out at off-campus speeches by this time next year.
All right. Okay, so what have I promised in this thing? Okay, I promise next year we're going to be doing the internal governance review, making sure that everything that is within that is hopefully going to be put in place. I promise we're going to be looking at a human resources policy manual because it's something I'm really passionate about. It's something we really need. I promise we're going to look at the professional development within the union because I think it's something that we really need to look at. I really want to promise you that we're going to have reading week courses next year, and I'm going to work my damnedest to make it happen. I promise you that you're going to have a lot of representation with the math negotiations and make sure that we're going to be able to talk to them about course evaluations and all this stuff like that. I promise you that there are going to be extended library hours next year. I promise you that we're going to be looking at the health and dental plan. I promise you we're going to look at campus safety and security. I promise you that the bike co-op is going to be working next year. I promise you we're going to stay a member of CASA. I promise you that we're going to look at municipal relations. I promise you budget transparency, executive position review, grants and bursaries, and a whole lot more because I've run out of time. Take a look at my platform. Thanks.